Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the HerStory TV and the HerStory podcast. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia this time. A lot of you know that I'm based in New Zealand, but I'm in Australia this month waiting for my first grandchild to come. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome our next guest to the platform. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Phyllis Georgette Williams. I am calling from Fayetteville, North Carolina in America. I am 37, soon to be 38 years old. And here's a little of my story. Like a good movie, sometimes they start from the beginning, but I'm going to start from a pivotal point in my life. And that pivotal point is when I was asked to speak at a graduation. This was maybe 4 years ago, and it was someone that I had known casually, and they said, Phyllis, I just think you are so bright and creative and just a powerhouse, and I want you to speak at this private graduation. And I was like, she thinks that of me? This lady's pretty impressive, but she thinks that of me. She was from the Maine area or lived there for a while, so she had a different accent than I did and things like that. So I told her, well, I'll think about it. And you know, most times when people say I'm going to think about it, they don't. But she said something before she got off, and it's what I call a God wink. It was whatever she said was something I had just read in a book about casting your net out, which is from the Bible. So she spoke of that, and I was like, wow, I just read that in a inspirational book. So I told her I'll do it, and I went there, and I was just my natural self, and I spoke, and I was on a stage with people who had doctoral degrees, and I was like, well, I don't have a doctoral degree, but I think that was a pivotal point in my life where I was. It's not where I came from. It's not what I've been through. It's who I am now. And all of those experiences shaped me. Prior to that, you would think I would be very brave because I'm a Marine veteran and I did 2 tours in a combat zone. But there's a different type of bravery in discovering yourself.
Wow. What an amazing story. What I do love is that the universe gives us signs. God gives us signs. I call them my little synchronicities, those little coincidences where it's a quote in a book or something someone will say that kind of guides you that you are on the right path. Now, you know that I'm talking to people about self-confidence and building self-confidence and how to get to that point. And just reading your bio and your background, self-confidence wasn't something that came naturally to you, but you kind of went outside of your comfort zone and put yourself in a very uncomfortable position. And now you've developed this knack and this skill. For someone who isn't an extrovert, somebody who's quiet, who's soft-spoken, who doesn't feel comfortable being in public, based on what life has taught you up to this point, what 3 nuggets of wisdom would you give them?
The 3 nuggets of wisdom I would get them is introverted people are still powerful people. We may not speak in front of the room. That may not be the case every time, but just play on your strength. Is that connecting with people as they enter the room? Can you be a greeter? So one nugget I would be is play on your strength. The second nugget would be start small. If you have to just give the announcement at a function, do that for a few weeks or a month until you start to become more confident saying, well, I know I'm really good at this. What's next? And the third nugget would be create a goal for yourself. Create a goal for yourself, a SMART goal that you can achieve within a reasonable time. Make sure it's attainable and make sure it's measurable. So those are my 3 nuggets.
I love that. I love that. There are three very, very simple steps on how to get there. Now, sometimes our backgrounds impact on us as people when it comes to self-confidence and communicating in public. Sometimes, like for me, English is not a first language. I had to learn to refine how I pronounce words in English. My mother tongue is Shona. You come from the south of the US. You've got a different accent from people in the north. What can one do if you've got an accent to be able to communicate clearly and confidently?
I think one thing with the accent is you have to recognize what words that are strengths and weaknesses for you and practice those words, but also know that everybody has an accent. I think that hit me like everybody in the world has some type of accent. It may be a Boston accent, a European accent, but everybody has an accent. So be comfortable in knowing that this is just who I am, but maybe I do have struggles with STR words or SPR words. So let me practice on those. But at the end of the day, I'm still comfortable with who I am.
I love that. Now, when you feel unhappy or unsettled in your life, what have you done personally to get yourself out there? You know, this past year, 2020, now going into 2021, has been very, very stressful and traumatic for a lot of people because of the COVID situation. How are you coping? What have you done for yourself personally?
What I have done for myself personally is I'm an advocate for mental health and mental health services. So, with everything that was going on, it was very, felt like the walls were caving in on me. Even though I'm an introvert, I'm also an adventurous introvert. So I want to go to concerts. I want to go to the movies. I want to go places. So I had to still reach out to somebody who is a professional and let me know that what I'm experiencing, it's it's unprecedented time. So it's expected and gave me strategies of how to deal with it. And I also started to journal more, meditate, color, do things like that that would help make me live in the moment. So I would say you can seek mental health services, whether it's life coaching or another means, and just do something that makes you live in the moment, whether it's listening to music, writing in a journal, or finishing a coloring book.
That's wonderful. Yeah, now we have more to focus on what's inside our heads. I know that another way that you have been getting yourself going is to do things physical. Tell us about your physical activities. I was quite fascinated when I was reading your answers to all of my questions.
Yes, it has been a up and down year with COVID. I have lost and gained and lost and gained and lost and gained weight during, during this pandemic, but I enjoy swimming. I enjoy riding my bike. I recently bought a smart hula hoop. I didn't talk about that in the intake, but I recently bought a smart hula hoop. So I put on my soca music and I'm hula hooping. And I just sometimes I started walking more and just enjoying nature and maybe listening to a book while I was walking as well. So those were
Mhm.
some physical things that I did.
And
I
you're also
always
into
say,
CrossFit, right?
yes, right before I had started CrossFit, I've done boxing as a not as a sport, but as a athletic way to lose weight. So
Yes,
I've been very a lot of different things.
absolutely fascinating. Now, I know that you are a storyteller, and a lot of people don't always know the best ways to tell their own personal stories. From what you've learned as a storyteller, give us some tips, some ideas on how one can confidently put together a personal story.
One way people can put together a story is very simple. This is a strategy I would give somebody. I would say get a sheet of paper because I think sometimes our minds start to overthink things or try to make things so complex. But one time I went to a seminar and they asked us to do this. and they chose me, and it went really well. But get a sheet of paper, cut it into, divide it into 4 pieces, and just draw pictures of the event. I want to talk about, so it's sort of like a storyboard. I want to talk about going to the store and what happened this one time I went to the store. So just start there with your pictures, and it doesn't have to be anything too complex.
Mhm.
And make sure the story is in your voice, and don't try to tell a story like anybody else. So know your type of humor. I really have a dry sense of humor, but I found that some people, they get that. Like, so I can connect to, here's another strategy too. I can connect to other people like, I kind of still tell stories like her, or I like the way she tells stories, and intertwine it in to your process of just making it a simple storyboard.
That's really great, because sometimes you have to listen to other orators to pick up some tips, some ideas, and then see what works for you. But what I love about what you said is every single person has got a very unique way of communicating, and you have to honor that, because that's your unique signature, right? You can't
Yes.
speak like anybody else but yourself. And if you start from there, everything else becomes easy. Now, you are a workshop facilitator. Tell us what kind of workshops you run. How can people get involved in these workshops?
Okay. The workshop that I'm focusing on mostly is called, I've done a few, I've done some for education. I have been a special education teacher since 2007. I'm getting seasoned because I don't remember how many years it is now.
That's good.
But so I've done things for teaching. I've done things when I was in Toastmasters. But what I'm focusing more on now is celebration of self and sisterhood, which is a workshop that's based on my books. It incorporates strategies from my books. I did it live, but now because of COVID and some restrictions, I had to figure out a way how to do that online. So, celebration of self and sisterhood, or self care and more. That's what it is. It focuses on self care, self worth, self love, selflessness, and it's using a lot of interactive tools. Like we do tic tac toe, we do something called repeat and complete, and we listen to music and we journal. So it's a very interactive workshop for women, so they can reflect on how are they doing in those areas of self-care and self-love and self-worth, and also do it in a place where they feel safe with people who they consider sisters, or are a type of, are part of a sisterhood, because it's good to know that you have somebody there with you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it's all about, right? It's all
Mm-hmm.
about us uplifting each other. And when we're doing things in groups, it amplifies your growth and your development even further. So, what
Mm-hmm.
are the titles of your books and where can people get them?
Both of my books are called The Art of Me. The first one is 30 Strategies to Discover Your Self-Worth. It is on Amazon and also on my website, progresspromoter.com. And the second one is The Art of Me, and it's 30 coloring pages to practice self-care. So I really
Wonderful.
want people to focus on themselves, but knowing by focusing on themselves, we can be better to everybody else, because whether you are a mom or a grandma or an aunt, I think women pick up a lot of slack for people. So to take some time out for yourself and really just know that you can't pour from an empty cup.
That's wonderful. I think the problem is that most women feel like they're being selfish when they do that. But you're right, unless you are full, you can't really help anybody else. Beautiful
Mhm.
way to end our interview. I do have one last question for you. If time was an illusion and your past, your present, your future existed at the same time, and you could teleport into the future and have a conversation with that 100-year-old you, sitting in your rocking chair, having lived this amazing life, what would you ask her?
Oh, what would I ask 100-year-old Phyllis? I have a 100-year-old name, but what would I ask 100-year-old Phyllis? Wasn't it all worth it? I think I
Nice.
would ask her, wasn't it all worth it? And I'll let her answer that and let me know. Has all the work she's done been worth it? Has all the giving, has all the pouring, and also the receiving, has it all been worth it? And if so,
Wonderful.
how and why? Mhm.
Absolutely beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming online today and gracing us with your presence. Absolutely wonderful to connect with you. And I'm hoping that those people out there who are in search of inspiration, trying to build their self-confidence, you've given us a few tips. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. Come back again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing woman, sharing her story on how she's built her self-confidence. But have a fantastic day wherever you are in the world. And Phyllis, thank you again for this interview.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gertrude.
Bye for now, everybody.